Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I've got to watch my fingers with this one. This is a huge piece of oak burl. We've got a few messages written on this side, which tells a little bit more about it. 360mm by 80mm, which is about 14 inches by just over 3 inches. 8.1 kilo, which is about 18 pound. And a wonderful message on here. Have you got the right lathe, gauges, hands? I know I haven't. So the person who had this first, or had it last, obviously decided that this was going to be a little bit too much for them, and I don't blame them at all. Oak is a relatively hard wood, and dry oak is even harder, and bur oak is harder still, so this could prove to be quite a challenge. But hopefully we've definitely got the right lathe. I've certainly got the right tools. The hands aren't feeling too bad, so let's give this a go. Now, first of all, we've got to do is figure out which is going to be the top and which is going to be the bottom. This side, we've got a big hole there. On the sides, a few cracks and splits. Big bit missing there. A few more cracks and splits, but that's about it. So this bit is the main one we have to worry about. So I think this is going to be the top. Just write that on there. And obviously the other side's going to be the bottom. So we're going to need to mount it that way on the lathe so we can make a start. So first thing to do is to find the center. Now I've set my smaller calipers, something to around the right radius. And I'm just going to make a few marks on here to try and gauge where the center may be. So make a few scratches and then pick the center of all the scratches, which looks to be about there. Right, okay, I think that'll do. Now I'm in two minds how to mount this. Initially I was thinking a worm screw, but then I was thinking maybe I'd be better off or safer using a faceplate. I think I'm going to go with a worm screw first, and then if that proves to be inadequate, then we'll move it over to a faceplate. Okay, we're nice and safely on the lathe. We can only get this up to about 520 RPMs at the moment until we start getting it balanced a little better. Initially I'm going to be using a 1/2 inch bowl gouge. I'm going to flatten off the base, start working up the sides, and then we'll see if some design grabs us or we get inspiration from something. Okay, we've flattened up for most of the base, and we're nearly all the way around on the top. Now you can see from the surface there are an awful lot of, I wouldn't say cracks, but they're a little bit more than that. They're fissures in this wood, which is going to make this a very, very interesting turn. I think we're going to have to be very, very careful. We can't go too thin because we are going to run into some structural issues. And we've got a big old crack here. So I would love to turn back that. I would imagine that would be a fairly straight line between those 2 points, hopefully. So we'll have to take that into the equation. I can't see, that may go a little deeper than we can see. So again, we'll have to take that into consideration. I think we're going to call this the tiger bowl. Look at the stripes in there. Right, what am I going to do? I think I'm going to start working in from this corner, because we need to get past this and figure out what's going on here, and then we'll decide a bit more after that. I'm just going to sharpen up again. This thing is so hard. Okay, I've sharpened up, and after getting it round, we can now increase the speed up to 720 RPM. Okay, right, it's starting to look like something now. Let's see our problems. Right, we've still got this area here, although I don't think it's going to give us any more problems if that doesn't change much. Our other hole, that's a big piece of bark in there. See if I can pick it out and see what's going on. No, I can't. Right. Okay, now this piece would make a lovely large flat bowl, but that sounds a little bit too simple for such an immense piece. So I think I'm going to create a foot on here and then go up a little bit and then out, so it's slightly more of a pedestal style, which is not easy to say. I don't mind flat bottom bowls, but I'm not a huge lover of them either. Right, so let's mark up for a foot. Right, that's going to be the recess. We want at least that much wood to secure the foot. Right, so that's our foot. So we'll start taking this up there and then figure out some sort of design for the side of this piece. Okay, right, I had a flash of inspiration then when I was cutting in for the foot. This shape here gave me the kind of vision of a donut. Now, I'm not going to make a donut, but what I was thinking was if I just gently curve it up and round, then it looked like the side of this bowl is floating, because you won't be able to see the foot, but you won't be able to see anything holding it in place. The foot will be in complete shadow, and that might be a nice illusion. It'll tempt people to pick it up to see what's going on, and then they'll feel the weight of it, and then, you know, it kind of leads to the experience of it just looking nice. So I think I want to explore that a little bit. So I'll just create more of a curve going from here all the way around to the top, and we'll see if that looks okay. It may all change again, but at the moment that's the first bit of inspiration I have, and I like it, so I'm going to go with it. Okay, it's all going well again. I've just stopped a second so I can sharpen up, because this wood is absolutely brutal. Okay, that's done pretty well. This area here, we're just going to ignore it. It's all part of this natural wood. Oh wow, look at the grain appearing on this side. Alright, we're still not quite fully round there yet, so we need to do a bit more on that, but I'm liking the shape, I'm liking the idea, I think. Yeah, I still like the idea. Right, I'll just work on getting this fully round. Get these couple of flat spots gone. Then we can worry about getting a recess in and start to sand. Right, I'm set up for sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I'll bring you back when it's done. Okay, well, it was certainly a beast to sand, but we got there in the end. I'm going to go on with a bit of isopropyl alcohol just to clear the surface from any dust before we put a sealer on, and give it a first indication of how this is going to look when it's done. Well, certainly going to be an impressive piece, there's no doubt about that. There's so many cracks and fissures and bits on this, it's going to be tricky to hollow out and keep it safe, so we're going to have to take that make that. So we're going to have to take that very, very carefully. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll come back with a sealer. I've got to blow out the tissue that's now got stuck in there. Okay, that's all nice and dry. Now I'm going to go on with a very, very thin sealer. This is only a 5% mix of shellac. 5% equates to about a half-pound cut. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want the next finish on it to be able to soak into the wood as well. So that's why I'm going to use this one for now. Applying with a brush because there's so many little bits that my cloths won't just get into. Oh my goodness, this is looking amazing. I don't think I've ever seen quite so much going on. I was about to say not all of it good, but of course it's good. It's wood. Doesn't matter what it does, it's all completely natural. You can't force wood necessarily to be something we don't want it to be. It has its own mind. And all we can do is just interpret the best we can. Okay, right, I'll let this dry. Then I'm going to come back on with a Howard feed and wax. And then when that's dry, we can turn it round and attempt to hollow it out. Okay, that's had plenty of time to dry, so we'll go back on with Howard feed and wax. Nice big dollop. And the way this works is that you apply a good coating to the surface, then allow it 20 minutes or so to soak into the wood, and then come back and buff it off. So we will do just that. It's not going to give it a high gloss shine, but it will give it a lovely sheen, and it will protect the wood nicely. And I think it's an ideal finish as well for this kind of rustic, wonderful burl. If you've liked what you've seen so far, I would really appreciate you hitting the like button, and if you could subscribe as well, that would be absolutely amazing. It's completely free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it makes an enormous difference to us. Thank you. I'm going to have to blow out the tissue that's got stuck in there. Right, I'll give this 20 minutes, come back, buff it off, and then I shall bring you guys back when we've turned it around. Okay, we've turned it around, we're nice and safely locked off using tail support. So we'll start hollowing out at around 800 RPM. We're going to be starting off again with a 1/2 inch bowl gouge. First order of business is to get the top flattish, and then we can start hollowing. It's kind of a shame to lose these notes, but there's no real way we can keep them. Okay, I'll just quickly stop to, well, okay, I was about to say, I'm just going to quickly stop to make sure there's no surprises. And that gap we had on the top is, yeah, it's going to be interesting, that. I think that's going to go in a little way. On the back, it leads to an obvious branch that was coming out of this piece. So we're going to have to clear an awful lot of that. Now I also stopped to sharpen up again, which I think is going to be a regular occurrence on hollowing this out. Right, I'm going to sharpen up again and we'll continue, but this is going to be, it's not going to be a quick process, I know that. We've got beautiful grain around here. Horrible grain around here. Well, it's not horrible, it's just incredibly hard. So we'll go and sharpen up again, and then we'll continue slogging on. Okay, progress is definitely being made. Some of these fissures, cracks, whatever we're going to call them, not great on this side, especially around there. It's hard to know exactly where they, which direction they're heading and how deep they are. I think we may get past a few of them. This is going to get smaller, and it's improved an awful lot since we started, or since we uncovered it. Right. Love it round here, that's amazing. Right, I'm going to go and sharpen up again, but we are getting there. Okay, it's going well. It's going slowly, but it's going well. I just spent a few moments getting the thickness right on this edge. I'm going to have a gentle curve into it. I'm not going to have just a normal straight edged bowl shape going in. It's just going to be a gentle curve in. We've got a nice big crack appearing here, and that's the one that correlates to the split we had on the back. I'd like to maybe try and get that closed up a little bit by taking it a little bit thinner, but it's not going to improve an awful lot. This side is starting to look nicer. It's never going to look great because the other side doesn't look great either, but we'll do the best we can with that. Right, I'm going to go and sharpen up again, and we'll continue. Okay, we're on the Homewood Stretch, I think. In the not too distant future, I'm going to have to take away the tailstock to get rid of this middle area. But I'm trying to do as much as I can before we get to that point. Because as you know, this is a big piece. And any reasonable catch will send this flying. So I need to keep myself as safe as possible. So we'll carry on going. There's very little to do now on this side, barring removing a couple of tool marks. So I will carry on, but we're nearly there. I think we're there. I need to go across the base with a scraper, but I think we're there. That is a beast, isn't it? I can see daylight. I can see daylight in all sorts of places. Right, I'm going to go and quickly sharpen up my scraper. We'll go across the bottom, get rid of the tool marks, make sure it's nice and flat, and then we can sand. Brilliantly. Okay, right, I'm going to set up for sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I shall bring you back when we're done. Okay, sanding went well. Very, very hard stuff and very, very dusty. I've still got my extractor on. I've had all the windows open and my garage door to get as much of the dust out of this place as possible. I'm just going to leave it on just to be on the safe side. Now I've blown this out with a lot of air, so there shouldn't be any dust left on the surface, so we don't need to use isopropyl alcohol. So I'm just going to go straight on with my 5% shellac. This is going to act as a sealer and help bring this piece alive. Isn't that incredible? I don't think I've ever seen a piece as disfigured as this in terms of cracks or whatever we're going to decide to call them. Okay, right, as we've got some holes all the way through, I am going to quickly check the back for runs, but then when this is dried we'll come back and go back on with our Homewood feed and wax. Okay, that's had a good chance to dry, so once again on with the Homewood feed and wax, a nice big dose. As I mentioned before, we're going to put this on and then leave it to sit on the surface for a good 20 minutes, then come back on and buff it up. Right, I love these rustic pieces, but boy do they tear this paper to shreds. Right, I'm going to leave this for 20 minutes. I'll come back in, give it a nice little buff over. If it needs another coat, I shall give it another coat. But apart from that, I shall bring you lot back when it's all done and we shall take a final look. Well, there we go. A rather large, very rustic oak burl bowl. We've managed to keep pretty much the same size as we started with. It's 14 inches wide, just over 3 inches deep, and the grain is just amazing. I certainly wouldn't use this for soup or anything liquid because a lot of these fissures, cracks, whatever we're going to call them, go all the way through. There's a lot of daylight that you can see through quite a few of the cracks. But I love it, especially the back. There's so much going on around there that it really is quite beautiful. This is my kind of thing. Something that you can just sit and look at for hours and never get bored. My idea for the design was for it to be able to sit onto a table and for it to look like it's almost levitating so you can't see the foot. Now I've just set up that camera there so it's low down, so hopefully you can see the impression it gives. And I think it was relatively successful. Whether or not people will understand what I was trying to do when they see it, I'm not sure, but that doesn't really matter. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this one, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things. And if you could share the video as well, that would be absolutely amazing. Don't forget that if you also leave a comment, you are going to be entered into the next giveaway we do. I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be, but hopefully not in the too distant future. So there we go. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.